So I was just milling around the other day and someone just came up to me and gave me this promotional ticket to go and see a mystery movie. I wonder what it's all about. So we are talking Demons, aka Demoni, from 1985, directed by Lamberto Bava, and he co-wrote this along with Dario Argento, who produced this movie. And this one stars Barberini, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who you may know from the Gore movies. So this is a highly regarded Italian gore-fest movie about demons, as you might expect. And 1985 movie, it had one kind of official sequel, and there's also a third one, which is actually another movie just kind of renamed as that. So, what is this one all about? Well, it focuses on a random group of people who are kind of given out these cinema tickets as a sort of, what they presume is some type of promotion. There's a guy with a kind of a strange face mask giving out tickets to seemingly random people. So we get a collection of these people show up at this particular cinema, and they don't know what they're going to watch, but it appears to be some type of horror movie about a group of crypt raiders who discover potentially Nostradamus's grave, and there's a strange mask which cuts one of the people and thus turns them into a demon. And this actually is a representative of what's happening in the actual movie theatre, because there's a display in the foyer with this same mask, and one of the kind of patrons puts it on and cuts herself and turns into a demon, and then basically starts infecting everyone else. So we have a dwindling amount of moviegoers in this theatre, this movie theatre, being picked off by this ever-increasing mass of demonically possessed individuals. What will happen? You have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss what I think works in Demons. I mean, this movie is loads of fun. It really is loads of fun. It's a very simple story, but I think in the context of this movie, it works as a bunch of people trapped in a building with some dangerous entities, so it's a growing in number. So I think the simplicity of this story actually, in this instance, kind of pays off, I would say. It's not, I think some of the Italian movies can be a little convoluted, and there's still elements here that don't really make sense, which we'll come on to a couple in a bit, but the simplicity is the movie's strength in this point. But that's also coupled with some great practical monster effects and gore effects. These kind of demons start off with kind of like pustules coming out when they're human and turn into kind of like hideous creatures who, ripping throats out and things like that. And there's plenty of kind of like transformation sequences and gore shots, people getting munched and everything. So absolutely loads of fun in regards to some gooey and slobbery practical effects here. And because we have obviously a good amount of people in this kind of theatre, this cinema, there's obviously a lot of people to be victims. So we get obviously quite a kind of a high body count. And I kind of really enjoyed the fact that we see scenes from like the movie within a movie, and it sort of sets up the context about what's happening and kind of gives it this kind of mystical aim. And this movie also makes you think about the larger picture, like who is this guy who is handing out these tickets? Obviously he has kind of an end game here, and it sort of points to, what is this kind of like this demon conspiracy and plan that's kind of clearly kind of going on here. So even though the movie doesn't focus too much time on that, I think it's enough to kind of make you start wondering about the kind of the larger world that this film kind of exists in, if you see what I mean. This is somewhat typical of Italian cinema in regards to its sort of cinematography and kind of direction style and things like that. But again, I do think it works, and it's considered a kind of a classic for a reason. Obviously, it's a 1985 movie, so some of the kind of the stylings and the kind of the VFX and stuff, obviously, in this instance, looks it's aged quite a bit, but it's still loads of fun to watch. And the kind of the glowing-eyed demons, I think, are absolutely fantastic, and they look great. You know, we end up having a likeable kind of group of protagonists. We primarily focus on a group of 4. There's 2 guys who go to the film together, and then 2 girls, and there are kind of group of 4 main protagonists, but the movie kind of here and there will spend time with kind of other characters in the kind of the film as well. And I think even though we don't really know a whole bunch about these kind of characters, they're kind of quite fun, and you know, they're given like, they're kind of like peppy kind of like youngsters who are the guys are wanting to chat at the girls, etc. The girls are kind of flirting back. It's enough to kind of just at least make you kind of like these characters, and you know, you want them to kind of get out, even though arguably the characters are a little weak in regards to fleshing them out or anything, but I think there's enough there to kind of make you you know, like them at the very least. And the action starts pretty early. This movie doesn't have a huge amount of setup before the actual demons start coming out, and it's an ever escalating movie where, as the survivors start dwindling down, they add to the amount of the demonic creatures. So it's harder as the film goes on for our protagonist to be safe, because there's less friendlies and more aggressors, if that makes sense. So the stakes feel larger as the film progresses. So, you know, I think it's an enjoyable, fun movie. So let's talk about some of the things that I think don't work. And I've kind of mentioned maybe one, which I think is the maybe lack of characterization here. We really don't know much about any of the characters at all, to be honest with you. It maybe have behooved them to have a little bit more context in regards to who they are, but I think they do just about enough to make us like the characters and want them to succeed. But we don't know much about them other than that, to be honest. There are some things here that are a little kind of weird, you know, and things that I think, had the movie wanted to be a deeper film, it could have been explored more. Just to give you a couple of examples, so, you know, we see like one member of staff in this movie theatre who is this girl that's kind of letting people in. But when stuff starts to go sideways, no one sort of questions her. She just seems to be completely kind of clueless about what's going on. Although initially it looks like she might be in on it, but she doesn't appear to be. But no one sort of questions her about, you know, who owns this theatre, what's going on, does she have any idea? And she's the only kind of like staff member that we kind of see. But it's just kind of like brushed over. In like towards the end of the movie, where just a random helicopter just drops you the ceiling of the movie theatre. And the idea here being that I think that it's obviously meant to be spreading, but that seems to be happen very quickly. You know, there's no one questions why there's a display in the foyer which features a real samurai sword and things like this. So there's a few things here that I think you could just say, yeah, do you know what? It's just things here could have had a little bit more context, but a little bit more fleshed out, and story-wise been a bit sharper. I think maybe the script here, and all due respect to Magenta and Barbara, I think it's maybe a little bit too basic to be a truly kind of inspired story. So it's a fun movie to experience. It's a fun movie to watch with all the kind of like the gooey effects, the danger and stuff. It's not a deep story. As I say, there's the hints here at a larger world, and that's interesting. But to me, the script is lacking, and you know, a better narrative, I think, eludes this movie, despite it being still kind of like a load of fun and a good movie in regards to its kind of VFX and amount of kind of gore and stuff here. We give it, and I understand people liking it because it is a fun movie, but if you're looking at it in the cold light of day, I think the script isn't brilliant. So there you go. That's my opinion anyway. What's your opinion of this movie? And do let me know. And it's a 6 out of 10 for me. See you in the comments.